In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an X-ray effect on a flower using this rose. So follow along, and you can download my reference photo in the video description below. All we need is a round brush, two colors, your favorite red or pink, and your favorite blue, but feel free to use any other color of your choice. I'm going to use Quinacridone Rose from Daniel Smith, and maybe just a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta from Aqua. And for the leaves, I'm going to use one of my all-time favorites, this Winsor Aqua Green, and I'm going to supplement it with Thylo Turquoise from Aqua. You may also choose to add a little bit of yellow in the middle of the flower. So let's get started. First, you'll need to create your background mixture. Very light, lots of water, and just a hint of your red pigment. Cover the first petal with this mixture, and then using the tip of your brush, go around the edges of the petal with pure pigment. Just dip your brush, the tip of it, into your pen, or if you have it on a palette, dip it into a more saturated blob of color and go around the edge. So what's going to happen is, because you have the entire surface of the petal covered with your pinkish reddish mixture, the pigment will spread from the edge towards the center because water is going to pull the pigment. You can also drop some yellow just at the base of each petal. Make sure that the petals you're painting in this layer are not overlapping. And then when you're done, I've managed only 3 petals that were not overlapping. Let them dry, and you can have a coffee, let it dry for about an hour. I gave it about 2 hours and worked on another painting. And when you come back, pick another 3 or 4 petals and follow the same process. Cover the entire surface of your petal with your light color mixture, and then go around the edges of the petal with the tip of your brush using much more saturated pigment. You will note that I'm adding a little bit of magenta here, and this is purely a stylistic choice. You can achieve pretty much the same effect with just one pink color. But I couldn't resist, and I started dipping into my Quinacridone Magenta because I just like playing with color. You can see that watercolors are starting to do their magic, and the first layer of petals is entirely visible underneath the layer we're working on. Let it dry again. Come back when your paper is completely dry and follow the same process one more time. Focusing on new petals this time. Again, the key here is to make sure that the petals you're working on are not touching. And now we can move on to doing our stem and the leaves. So again, my plan here is to use just one color, and I decided to go with Winsor Aqua Green using the same method. A very light background wash, and then right before it's completely dry, following with more saturated pigment on the edges. What I decided to do halfway through the process is add a little bit of Thylo Turquoise from Aqua, just to vary it up. Again, purely stylistic choice. I think I just have trouble sticking to a limited palette, and I like a lot of variation in my colors, so this was quite a challenging project for me, but nevertheless I carried on. So you can see I only did 3 leaves on the right, and the reason being is because I want them to dry first before I paint those other leaves that will be overlapping. Now on the left, you can see a lot more intense. This is Thylo Turquoise. And then I came back when my leaves on the right were completely dry, and I've added one more. Then continued with leaves on the left. Now you get that interesting effect overlapping with the pink petal, but the borders are still visible, the borders of the leaf and the edges of the petal. As you're painting the leaves, while the surface is still wet, you can add a few veins just with the tip of your brush, just to add a little bit more interest. And then I came back to my flower. I have this large petal at the front that I left all the way till the end, so I'm going to do it now. And then another one falling down. Again, same system, a very light wash and then much more saturated color on the edges, blending it into my background color. I let it dry and I came back again. This time I did some stamens using my Winsor Aqua Green, and then I've added just a few more smaller petals to add a little bit more volume. If you feel like the edge is not saturated enough, you can go over it again and again just with the tip of your brush. And that's about it. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It's a simple exercise and it only requires light layers of color. The key here is to have some restraint and to let each subsequent layer dry fully in order to achieve this transparency, this sort of X-ray effect. I hope you found this demo useful. Next week I'll be back with a tutorial that most of you guys requested in the poll last week, and we're going to practice backgrounds, lots of different types of watercolor backgrounds. We'll go over some useful tips for creating watercolor backgrounds and do a step-by-step exercise from a beginner type of background through intermediate and all the way to some advanced techniques that you can use in your background washes. Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for visiting my channel. I'll see you all soon.